Hello, today we're going to look at IBM Cloud Private in the context of using it as a host for standard operating environments for integration developers. So if you look on the screen here, what we've got is we've got an IIB or an MQ developer who works with his usual tools, and what we've done is we've delivered a standard operating environment for his employer, customer A, onto the ICP private cloud. Okay, so let's go and have a look at how the developer tools and everything works exactly the same as it would if it was maintained on-prem or on his own desktop. But we can actually have an administrator role that says, I'm going to own the maintenance of that standard operating environment. I'm not going to ask 1, 5, 10, 100 integration developers to patch their machine, upgrade their level of MQ, create a new queue when there's a new standard service, deploy a monitoring profile or standard error handling. We'll maintain that centrally and allow the developers just to work against that environment and know that they're not all patching and updating themselves. Okay. So if we go and take a look at sort of typical developer tools, okay, we've got all the things that an integration or an MQ developer usually uses. Here's his IBM integration bus, and he's got some message flows that he's working on, etc. Okay, all the usual things we would expect, and we can force a change and an update, and we can rebuild a bar file just as we would expect if we were running locally. There's my local test node on my laptop. I'm not using that. I'm connecting to an IIB and MQ runtime, which is a standard operating environment runtime for this fictitious customer. But as you'll see, everything works exactly the same way. So we're doing deployments against a remote node. Okay, we can go and take a look at, we've connected RFH util. We often see RFH util used, so we can connect to that remote node as well, and we've got a bit of data, so we can write a message to the queue. Okay, and we can read it back, etc. Okay, we can look at using our standard tools for testing against our deployed message flows that we've just deployed. Okay, and we've seen that's our little URL that we tested. Okay, it's just an echo flow. Okay, it sends back that message for us. So from an IIB point of view, it is IIB because it is IIB. On MQ, we've got, you can see here, we've got version 903. We've got a bunch of queues, and we're connected up and operating quite happily. Okay. On ICP itself, we've got our MQ console. You can see I'm connected to that queue manager and showing 903. I've got my web GUI for IIB, and once again it's connected up to that same remote node. So everything that we would normally expect to have available to us as an integration developer we do, but we don't actually have the local copy of that standard operating environment. So let's just switch hats now and pretend we're this guy down here, we're the administrator, and he's got a standard operating environment, an IIB MQ image that he's created and maintains, and he's keeping it, in my case, up on public GitHub. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at upgrading MQ, all right, for all of our developers. So we've seen that we're running MQ 903. Let's assume the role of this administrator, and let's go and upgrade MQ and perhaps do a couple of other things. So look, he'd probably have better tools than I'm using, but I think just for speed and ease of demonstration, I can go in and I can change my installation package for my Docker file, okay, that's held on GitHub. I can change that to 904. Okay, that's a nice simple change we can make there. While we're in here, let's assume that perhaps we've introduced a change to our common error handling, okay, and we're going to have a new error handling queue, okay, that we want our developers to have access to. Okay, so we've saved those. We've made those changes. We go into our source control. We'll do a scan. I use this little Git GUI on my machine for these sort of administrative tasks, and we're doing an upgrade to MQ904. Okay, we'll stage that, sign it off, commit it, and we'll push it up. I've already signed in before, so my Git GUI knows that it's targeting my MQ split Helm. Okay, and that is my repository up on GitHub. So if that's gone through sort of fairly happily, we're all seeing already that there's a scan going on. This is my Jenkins pipeline, which is running on ICP, and it's configured to look at my organization, davexa.com, and it's doing a scan of the organization having been initiated by this webhook. Okay, so there's a webhook against my repository. The webhook is calling my ICP Jenkins pipeline, okay, via a secure gateway in this case, because my ICP sits on a private network in IBM. Okay, so we've got a scan going on. The scan has finished successfully, and now we can see we've got a build underway. And we can see we've got a rebuild going on. Okay, so we'll let that run in the background. There's the MQ starting to unpack. And we'll just review again what we're doing here. Okay, so let's go over onto our tools, and we can go and disconnect them, and we know that there's a new build coming. Okay, so you might, this might happen overnight, or it might be scheduled to an upgrade. We typically not just cut the developers off at the knees, so we tend to let them know, and it's probably sensible for them to go and do their disconnects, etc. And how's that build going? Very verbose logging. We can watch exactly what's going on. There's the MQ install, and look, we're obviously picking up 904 this time. Okay, so just as a review while the build's happening, so we've had our 903 MQ, we had IIB 100010 from memory, we had our tools for testing, so RFH util, other sort of RESTful clients that I've got built into one of the browsers there. So everything that you'd ordinarily expect to use as an integration developer, as if it was on your own laptop or on your own desktop. But this time we're maintaining the standard operating environment for your customer, that development environment. We're maintaining that on ICP so that we could administer it and update it as an individual administrator, owner of that environment. Okay, and we'll take the burden away from 1, 5, 10, 100 developers from having to maintain that themselves. The standard operating environment will be very well aligned with your other environments that we've seen before, can also run on ICP, maybe a SIT, a QA, a performance, and production obviously as well is supported. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at, see how our build's going. Okay, so that looks good. We've seen the successful build go through. So let's go and check our Helm releases. Okay, that's ours. We can go down to services. and we can connect our web GUI and our MQ console. Remembering with the MQ console, we need HTTPS : / rather than HTTP. Okay, there comes the IIB GUI is back. And let's just add the exception for the MQ Explorer. Here it comes. There we go. So we're all back and ready to go. Log into MQ. Select our queue manager. Let's check his properties. And you can see we're now at 904. Okay? And we're all ready to reconnect all of our tools as we did before. Okay? And again, we can write messages and we can read messages. We can connect our toolkit. Everything's back as it was before. We can go connect our Explorer. Check our queues. We've got our new queue that we created. And if we look at the properties, you'll see we're at 904. So everything's back and ready to go. The whole process of rebuild, reconnection, to replace that environment, upgrade MQ for our developers, takes about 4 minutes on this particular environment of ICP. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.